I don't think that every engineer is going to be thinking about the cost of every resource they deploy.
But you did say that we need to strive for it, meaning you have some hope.
Yeah, I think so.
So moving forward, don't call it a cost optimization opportunity, call it a risk to the budget that needs to be mitigated ASAP.
Yes.
Welcome to FinOps in Action. I'm your host, Alon Arvatz. Each week, I'll sit down with FinOps experts to explore the toughest challenges between FinOps and engineering. This show is brought to you by Point 5, empowering teams to optimize cloud costs with deep detection and remediation tools that drive action. Hello, everyone, and welcome to FinOps in Action. Today, we have a very, very special guest and friend. She actually started her career in physics, doing research on low-energy electron diffraction and topological insulator. I have no idea what it means, but it sounds really, really interesting. She started her FinOps career at SHI International implementing cost optimization solutions. Then she established the Cloud Efficiency, aka FinOps program at Genesis. She was a speaker at the last FinOps X, and today she's FinOps Engineering Team Lead at Alteryx. I'm happy to welcome Victoria Levy. Victoria, how are you today?
Hi, I'm doing great.
Great. So, Victoria, please share with us what was that one thing that you got wrong when you started your FinOps career?
Yeah, so for this one, I think for me, when I started doing FinOps, I gathered all these recommendations and I wanted to start achieving savings. And so I would find the owners of the resources, reach out to them, and try to get them to actually implement those changes so we can track those savings. But that didn't always work because the engineers have their own priorities and things that they're already working on. And so even if they say, "Oh yeah, I would like to get to this," they might not because their priorities might change or they might already have other stuff planned that they just don't have time to get to it. And so what worked better for me was to start working with either the project managers or the program managers or even just like the engineering managers themselves to try to prioritize optimization in the work that they're already doing. That way it has a plan and we know that they're going to work on it because they have time dedicated towards it. And so that helped definitely a bit more to get it prioritized among all of the other work that engineers have to get done.
That's actually a very interesting point because if you come to think about it, engineers don't own the priorities of the work. It's either prioritized by their managers or by the product managers. So even if they're really into cost optimization, they not always are. But even if they are, they're not the ones to prioritize it for the next sprint. Do you have also experience working with product managers to try and prioritize cost optimization efforts?
Yes. And I think that also is a great place to kind of start working on those priorities because, yeah, they're the ones who are like the voice of the customer, right? And so they know what next new features engineers should work on. But technically, they're also kind of responsible for the profitability of those products, but they never really concentrate on the cost of the specific infrastructure that goes into it. They might think of cost in other ways, like ROI. Well, not necessarily, but they might think of like the amount of new customers that they'll get or something like that. But yeah, so working with them and showing them their actual cost of those resources or even like a new deployment can help them start to factor that in. And so that has helped me a lot too, working with all of those different teams.
Do you feel that one day uh, efficiency of the infrastructure and cost of the infrastructure will be a pillar where every engineer is aware of and feel responsible for, just like quality, for example?
Hmm. I mean, I think it's something that we would strive for, but I would honestly say probably no. I think it would probably still sit more at the management level because they might still allocate some resources on their side and tell engineers just go get this thing done and don't worry about it because I've already done calculations for about how much it'll cost or something like that. I don't think that every engineer is going to be thinking about the cost of every resource they deploy.
But you did say that we need to strive for it, meaning you have some hope.
Yeah, I think so. At least, I mean, maybe not on the new resources that are deployed, because that should already be factored into the plan. So, like, leadership should think of the new things they want to deploy and kind of figure out how much that would cost. And things change along the way. But I think mostly it would be about like figuring out what things have been left behind I think that's where engineers can come in the most because no one else can do that kind of analysis. It's like we might have something running, it doesn't get picked up by our tools that can recommend right sizing. We're just not using it anymore, but the engineer knows that it's something that they had deployed, but they no longer need. So I think that's where it would factor in most.
Very interesting. And I think a lot of things that in the past were an engineer responsibility ended up being engineer responsibility, like quality, and also security. I feel happening same thing. So I personally still have hope that one day it will happen. I don't know if 5 years,
Yeah.
but one day it will happen. And if we're talking about security, so I know you have a very, very interesting perspective about the connection of security and FinOps. So I also come from security. Whoever listens to the podcast knows that my security background is embedded into how I think about FinOps as well. I wonder about your perspective about the connection between security to FinOps and maybe applying security frameworks into FinOps processes.
Yeah, so I would start by saying I don't have a background in cybersecurity, but my husband works in cybersecurity, and so he always gives me his perspective about things. And so for me, it is kind of top of mind. And it seems like the security engineers, at least at the companies that I've been at, they are kind of on top of things. And so when you look at the priorities of a business, they have their goals that they want to achieve, and then there's certain things that have to be done that aren't directly related to those goals. And security has done a great job of making sure that they are a priority, even though they might not be the like purpose of the business. And so that's something that FinOps can, I think, learn from. And it seems like they've kind of figured out how to push things to a prioritization state to get some of those vulnerabilities resolved, or even, I guess, from like a legal and compliance perspective, they can rely on that to push through some initiatives. And so if FinOps can connect back to I don't know, maybe there's some sort of like financial regulation or something that we can use. That's not something I've explored yet either, but that might give the FinOps team more credibility to push through initiatives. But I think also just following the security processes for getting certain incidents or vulnerabilities done can help FinOps to get those kind of things on the cost side prioritized as well.
Yes, and I remember that when I were in security, there was always the question if security go against the business or with the business. Actually, I would say that FinOps is more aligned with the business, or at least you can make it more tangible, which is an advantage. But I wonder, you feel like people in security have this thing more mature or more figured out? Do you find yourself collaborating with security at Alteryx to make these things happen?
Yes, definitely. So when I started talking with them, one of the things that we worked on was connecting our business data together. And so I'm from the FinOps side, and so we wanted to be able to get the resource owners so we could reach out to them and get things done. And so the security team, I mean, their stuff is kind of, I mean, I guess more important, right? So it's like they would know the resource owners if there's a vulnerability. So how can I work with them to figure out who to reach out to? And so we kind of combined our business data from that. And then the next thing that we were working on is to kind of give them the cost data as well. So if they are providing, I guess, security recommendations to teams or more like directives saying, we want you to fix this thing, um, here's the cost associated with that as well, so that you can have the full picture and they can resolve a vulnerability and save the company money. So it's more motivation for the engineers to take action.
That's really, really cool. So, did you map out like security issues that have also cost impact? And basically, the security team knows now to push the cost impact alongside the recommendation?
Yes. So it's not every security vulnerability because sometimes there's stuff that doesn't have a cost. It's just like this is here and it's a vulnerability and so we want to get rid of it. And so the cost is really low, but there are other resources that do have a cost associated with it. And so those were the ones that we focused on so that yeah, it's something that the engineers can take a look at from both of those perspectives. So we kind of looked through their tool of vulnerabilities, which resource IDs were attached to those vulnerabilities, and then tie it back to our cost reporting tool to match up those same resource IDs and see which ones would come out as like the top priority.
Nice. I think it's a great way to push cost optimization initiatives, ride either security initiatives, maybe also performance initiative. I think that's actually a very, very interesting way to drive that forward. And again, when I was in security, there was a lot of talk about food. fear, uncertainty, doubt, how much you use it to drive, action and get budgets, etc. Do you feel that us as FinOps people, we cannot tell people, hey, if you won't do it, our company will be hacked, of course. But I think we should embrace more of like a language that drives sense of urgency. Like, hey, this is a risk to the business. This is, I don't know what. Do you have any perspective on that?
I think from the FinOps perspective, we might actually have a stronger position because we could say, like, we just don't have the budget for this, so there's nothing we can do to pay for this or something. Whereas with security, an attack is kind of intangible. It's hard for people to imagine, and it's hard to measure the consequences of something if it hasn't happened yet. And so there's a lot of that kind of risk management analysis that goes into security that we kind of don't do in FinOps because we already have some of those numbers that we can share, but there's still certain things that are a risk to those numbers too that we look at from the FinOps perspective, such as, I guess, like price changes from vendors. We had a lot of stuff pop up in May because I guess that's when a lot of the cloud vendors decide to start raising prices on different things, and so yeah, that definitely has an impact on our budget overall.
So moving forward, don't call it the cost optimization opportunity. Call it a risk to the budget that needs to be mitigated ASAP.
Yes.
No, that's actually a very interesting perspective. And did you embrace anything from like detection and response perspective, like responding to something, doing RCA after an incident happens? This is a huge concept in security. Do you embrace some of that for FinOps?
Yeah, and so when I was working with the security team, I asked them about how they kind of create policies for the organization for teams to follow. And so one thing that we started working on was our major incident policy. And so this is for cost spikes that are way beyond our normal anomaly alerts. So it's something we need to address immediately. And when we get those notifications, then it becomes, like a policy that we have to address this in a certain amount of time, and that's where we go through the process of reaching out to the teams and getting them to make those changes. And then after they've made those changes and kind of resolved that cost incident, then we can work with them to figure out what happened there and what are they missing on their side that could help them to kind of manage costs in the future. And so it's almost like it's not for the FinOps team, it's for the other team to understand the cost impact of their decisions. So how did their work or deployments have an impact on our financial risk, I guess.
Very cool. And who gets access to this report? Like, is it only the team that had this incident? Is it also you, other team members? Who do you share it with?
We probably could promote it more. I mean, we document it and we have it in a place where people can find it if they look for it. So so far it's for the teams who had that. But yeah, we could probably make it more of like a repo for people to search if they come up with something that's similar.
Yeah, I guess in FinOps you have to do marketing as
Yeah.
well. That's true. Cool. So we talked a lot about security. I want to go back for a second to something you said earlier. You mentioned that you use the attribution models of your security team to know who owns what. I wonder if not only on the technical level to know who owns what, are there any other actions you do to drive accountability in the engineering organization from cultural perspective?
That is a good question. I mean, like, not necessarily tied to the security team. I mean, they do their own, I guess, promotion for their things, but I I mean, yeah, I think that's something that my team can work on more, like doing marketing for the FinOps side to build that culture.
So let's go to another hot topic, FinOps for AI. So everyone talks about it. I heard different opinions about this topic. Some say it's overhyped. Some say it's the most critical thing you should think about right now. I wonder what is your perspective about the topic and whether or not you do anything from that perspective today.
Yes. So I would say we do more of FinOps for AI than the other way around right now. So for tracking our AI costs, that's something that we're doing. We're figuring out all of the different products that the engineering teams are working on that include any AI. And so just showing that back to them because there's a potential for that to kind of get out of hand depending on what people choose to use. But for now, we're just tracking it. We have it under control. We're not doing any specific optimizations around it. I think um, one of the things that has helped us so far around it is choosing the best model or version to go with that would provide us the lowest price for what we need to do. And so, for example, we are using Gemini 1.5 Flash, and then we moved up to the Gemini 2.5 Flash because I think the Pro version was more expensive, but we didn't need that. And so we were able to, the newer version was cheaper. So we were able to move up to that and get more performance for a cheaper price without having to upgrade to the biggest thing for our team. And so that has helped us keep our cost under control for now without having to do optimizations after the fact. Um, and then I would say on the other side, so if you're looking at like the AI for FinOps part, I guess the only thing that we're really doing is just around forecasting. So we're doing a lot of like, I guess, machine learning models for our team for figuring out different forecasts for some of the different subgroups of all of engineering, but nothing too crazy yet. We're trying to maybe get like cost drivers and have the AI explain what the cost drivers are in those forecasts so that engineers have more details before they have to go and dig in and figure out what is contributing to that. And so that could kind of accelerate that process of teams having that forecast and figuring out what's leading to it ahead of time. But that's still in progress for us.
But you are saying two very important points. And the first one is basically like you have crawl, walk, run in FinOps, you also have crawl, walk, run in FinOps for AI. And start from somewhere, even if it's choosing the most relevant, optimal, efficient version of Gemini, right? So just start there before you go into crazy optimizations, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And maybe the second point about AI for FinOps, I think that forecasting is definitely the first use case, I would say, the lowest hanging fruit from that perspective. And and what I see, what I experience myself, with my team, is that the AI models, they're very good in accounting for seasonality. Okay, I think that's a big advantage. Like you can adjust to seasonality over a month, over a week, over a year. And I wonder if you also had the opportunity to compare doing forecasting with AI versus doing forecasting without AI, and where did you find the gaps there?
Let's see. So I guess we have a couple of different purposes for forecasting. And so if we're doing forecasting over the long term, we can kind of do more simple linear regressions because it gets rid of a lot of the variance day to day. But if you're trying to predict something on a smaller time scale, because the cloud spend is so variable, there are certain charges that hit at certain times of the month. And so, yeah, you can use that to account for those so that it doesn't interfere with the rest of the underlying trend. And then this is something we were looking at recently for our daily costs. I mean, things, depending on the schedule, you have things that go up and down on certain days. And so we can account for that too in the model. And so we explored a bunch of different model types and figured out which one would give us the most accurate kind of daily cost that accounts for all of those variances. And so that's been pretty cool so far.
Yeah, I'm sure about it. And these models, are there something that you develop in your team, outside your team, are using external tool or open source model? How did you get to this machine learning model?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're open source, so it's mostly just like a statistical model that certain programming tools have built in. You can kind of just use that. But yeah, so for my team, we're building stuff ourselves. Like we have our own data science team that does our kind of more broad forecast, but then my team was kind of exploring some of the daily forecasts, and it's more of like an innovation for us right now. So it's not something we're relying on or using too heavily, but it is really cool to be able to see how accurate you can get and see if we want to use that in the future.
Yeah, sounds pretty advanced, but with your physics background, I'm sure you can figure it out pretty easily. Great. And do you tackle today SaaS spend as well from Finos perspective?
We do, yeah. So for us, it's kind of the SaaS spend that is already consumption based. I feel like that's the most similar to FinOps versus getting into all of the licensing and seats and things like that. That's something that my team doesn't handle yet. We have our other procurement team that does that. But for the things that are consumption based, so, Snowflake, Databricks, Datadog, those kinds of things, yes, we definitely track that. And I think for those, the process there is also similar to the crawl, walk, run for FinOps. So the first thing that we do is we get visibility into the spend, and then the next thing that we do is, can we allocate that spend to different teams? Is there a way to tag it in the platform, or do we have to do that allocation some other way? And so that's how we've started to do it, and we pull all that information together into kind of like our overall budget, but we still have it separated by team for whoever's using it the most. So
Okay. And do you feel it's very different than cloud, or it's the same thing, just a different platform?
I think the difference between cloud and SaaS is probably kind of a skill level. So with cloud, I understand the architecture and I can go and find optimizations for teams. But for SaaS, they are very specific products with specific use case types. And so it's almost like studying their price sheet and figuring out what things contribute to those costs. And that's different from cloud. Some of it's similar. I mean, they still have like compute and other things. But yeah, I can't always recommend on it until I build up that experience using the tool to be able to know what is optimized and what is not.
Okay. So you invest time, for example, with your team to learn more about these technologies. I don't know what you're using exactly. I don't know, Snowflake, Databricks, whatever it is. But you find your team or allocate time for your team to learn more about these technologies?
Kind of. So right now, I mean, we've been relying on the admin teams for those tools who do know how they work. We show them the cost, and a lot of times they show us the cost too because they have it within the tool already. They can go to their management portal and things like that. And so yeah, it's more collaborative and trying to learn from each other about how to manage the spend. But yeah, it's I would say we're not the experts there yet. We still rely on those teams to kinda help us, figure out how to optimize those tools.
Yeah, and that's the way to go. If you ask me, that's the way to go. Work with the experts in your organization to make it happen. And we talked a lot about interaction with the admins, with engineers. Do you think that these personas should also be involved in the rate optimization process?
For SaaS or for cloud in general,
For SaaS and for cloud in general, for both.
I would say for cloud in general, no. It depends on what you're trying to do, but, like, my team, we handle the savings plans and things like that, and those are so flexible that we don't want teams to think about that. If there is a specific resource-based RI that we want to purchase, we would need to reach out to the team and figure out the plan for those resources so that we don't get locked into something. But if it's more flexible, yeah, I'd rather them focus on the usage optimization and have the FinOps team focus on the rate optimization because we don't want the engineering teams to have to take time away from what they're already doing to go look at pricing sheets for the cloud because it's not going to help them in their regular decision. I mean, it might help with the architecture, but that's something that we could talk about ahead of time, not necessarily if they're just deploying a test instance or something. So yeah, I definitely prefer them to focus on the usage and then let the FinOps team focus on the price of that usage.
Yes, and a very tactical question, but I'm just curious. So, sounds like you do need from them feedback about RIs to understand the plans for these specific resource types. How do you do that? Like, do you send them a Slack message? Do you send them an email? Like, tactically, how do you get this feedback from them?
That's fair. Yeah, I think for me, normally I'm in there looking at the recommendations for RIs, and if I see something that is really good, then I will reach out to the team probably by email because it's not always the most urgent thing and then get more information from them that way.
Okay, that's great. Wow, Victoria, thank you for sharing with us so much from your experience. It's been really fascinating. I think it's time to move to the second part of the episode to learn more about you on the personal level. But before I start, can you give us some background about the cool guitars behind you that I'm thinking about this entire episode so far?
Yeah, here I can share a little bit more. So we got that one right there, and then this one is a Longhorn bass since we are in Texas, so it's very on theme. Um, but but yeah, I guess I used to play guitar. I haven't played lately, but my husband plays guitar still, and so we have a whole collection. He has like 4 on this wall here and maybe like 20 more in the other room, and so our whole house is just filled with that.
That's so cool. So he's into guitars and security.
Yes.
We know a lot about him already. And you mentioned that you live in Texas. Are you originally from Texas? How did you get there?
So I'm originally from New York, not the city, but Westchester, so kind of in the suburb. And I was interested in doing physics. And so UT, so University of Texas at Austin, they had a really great physics program. And so I decided to come to Texas to do that. And even though I don't do physics anymore, still live in Austin. So it was a really cool place. And I just decided to stay after college. So
That's great. That's great. I have to tell you, I also personally plan to go for physics. I really wanted to study physics and philosophy. But then I said, okay, I need to do something more practical. Somehow I got into law and accounting. Don't ask me how. I dropped after a couple of years for entrepreneurship, but I totally get it. It's physics is so cool. How did you fall in love with physics?
This one's funny, but there's a concept in physics about Schrodinger's cat. And so there's this idea of you can have a cat that is both alive and dead at the same time because of the wave functions. And then if you look in the box, it collapses the wave function and you figure out what has been determined. And so I have always been a cat person. And so I went into physics because I heard about this concept and I thought it'd be really cool to to learn about something that had to do with cats for college. So and and because the rest of physics is also really cool. It wasn't just the cats.
Yes, yes, yes. No, and that experiment is absolutely mind blowing. I've learned about a few times, and every time I'm like mind blown by the concept. I don't think we'll open it right now for the show, although I'd love to. But definitely something worth looking up on the internet after you finish listening to the episode. And Victoria, what do you like to do for fun?
So for me, I mean, I guess a lot of the times I'm studying something or reading something, but I've been trying to do more like actual fun things lately. And so I started playing hockey. And it's funny because when I was in New York, you would expect there's a ton of hockey teams there, but the hockey rink for us was like 30 minutes away. But now that I'm in Austin, there's one that's like 5 minutes down the road. So it's even more convenient to play hockey in the middle of Texas where it's hot all the time. And so I've been doing that. And then also, if I get some free time, I also like doing painting at home. So
Yes. Okay, I've never played hockey myself, but I can definitely see you wearing the suit and
yeah,
everything and
helmet.
bumping into people and so really looks like you. Really cool stuff. And good luck with that.
Yeah.
Victoria, I'm sure a lot of people that are listening to us now asking themselves, okay, how I can get in touch with Victoria, ask her some question, consult with her. What is the best way to connect with you?
I would say reach out to me on LinkedIn, send me a message, and yeah, I'd be interested to talk with other people as well. So yeah, reach out and I'll reply back.
Great. You heard her, everyone. Reach out via LinkedIn. That's the way to do it. Victoria, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really great.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
It was all my pleasure. I also want to thank our audience for joining us once again to another episode of FinOps in Action. Thank you for keep on listening to our show. And if you heard something interesting, learned something new, had some fun, please tell your friend. Victoria, thank you again. This has been another fascinating, fun episode of FinOps in Action. See you next time. That wraps up another episode of FinOps in Action. Thank you for joining. For show notes and more, please visit finopsinaction.com. This show is brought to you by Point 5, empowering teams to optimize cloud costs with deep detection and remediation tools that drive action.